everyone to the Tools of the Trade live stream. I'm your host, Captain Cole, and I'm joined by my co-host Trip, better known as Crypto ISO on Crypto Twitter. We got an awesome episode for you guys today, with lots to talk about, lots to get into. But before I get started, would you please do me a favor, smash that like button, make us look good for the YouTube algo. Also want to take a quick second to thank our sponsor Phemex, one of the only non-KYC derivatives exchanges left in crypto. Click the link in the description below to get up to $6,000 in sign-up bonus. Now, the last thing I'll say before we get started here on Tools of the Trade, we are not financial advisors, and this information is for educational purposes only. Welcome. Nice little intro there. Thank you to our video editor, Brains. Awesome episode for you guys today. Trip, how's it going, my man?
It's good. Wow, you're off the hook from having to actually talk.
I know, right?
And do it from memory each time. But yeah.
Efficiency.
Yeah. No, I mean, I know we're supposed to have a guest today, but it's last minute cancellation. So I guess it's just you and I on the charts, basically, like last time. But it's an interesting way to do it. That's for sure.
There's a bunch to talk about. I guess before we kind of just dive right in, I think we'll just get right to the BTC, ETH, and talk about a bunch of alts and stuff. But, macro wise, unless you have any take, Strip, I think macro is kind of muted for the time being. We saw equities kind of rally in recent weeks, but crypto kind of was stagnant, weak, showing some weakness the past couple of days, weak. But that seems to kind of ameliorated itself or kind of solved itself out. So I'm interested if you have any takes on macro before we kind of dive right into price action today. There's a lot to talk about.
Yeah, I mean, we have CPI coming up. You have FOMC coming up, I believe next week. So those are two events, obviously, that the market sees some volatility around. I still think like the market is just anticipating the Fed like pausing or at least saying like, okay, we're done. And again, it's being driven by tech and AI. And I don't think like that steam has really run out yet. I mean, I think I see people call top on ES and NASDAQ like almost every day. It's like, well, it just keeps going up. Yeah, it might do this a little bit, but like, and then you have the dollar. I mean, it's like 104 or whatever it is. It's kind of just like stalling here. And everyone says it's going to go down, or if you just put all that stuff aside and you focus on price action, particularly to crypto, right? One of the things that I've kind of talked about was crypto is not trading with those assets, nor does it feel like it, and you're almost setting yourself up for failure trying to trade that correlation. It's just not there. The regulatory headwinds in crypto, have been one of the bigger things that I think people have overlooked. Just because it's like, like what's the FTC going to do? Okay, well, a bunch of people just got freaking liquidated. 28.4 was the high. Like, but did you need to know like the Binance stuff was coming and everything? No. And can you anticipate that? Well, some people did if you look at some of the data, because there was a lot of, insider trading around that. And there always will be. But if we focus on the bread and butter of what we like to talk about on this, it's liquidity-driven movements in a predatory tape, in a bearish market structure on the daily, which is a downtrend. And you just made it a lower low, was 27.2 the lower high, like just it's going to be at 28.4. And then are you going to go down and hit 23.9? And so that should be your sole focus if you're trading crypto, around those pivotal levels in liquidity, and not so much paying attention to the other assets that like crypto doesn't trade with at all because it's in its own world. I mean, the most bad news ever today came out and the thing ripped. That's like what crypto does. But were there 16 billion in shorts on Bitcoin? Yeah, there were. So
does liquidity drive price, or does the news drive price? What's the adage like? Show me the chart and I'll tell you the news, right? I think we've kind of seen that, especially this week, at least today, right? It's been probably the cleanest Monday range setup we've had in a while. So I guess let's kind of just jump right into that, right? So we talked about this last night. Both Trip and I kind of mentioned, talking about the Monday low. We had the Monday low put in early in the week. week started off with a strong sell-off to the downside. We bounced a little bit, and I had a really nice squiggly drawn where basically sweep the Monday low, reclaim, and then you trade up higher. I genuinely thought, 26 sixes was going to be probably like mid 26Ks was going to be logical resistance, but sometimes the Monday range is just so beautiful, right? We had to move literally sweep the Monday low, reclaim, and then sweep the Monday high. And now we're back below the Monday high, and it's just interesting to see just how genuinely beautiful that price action played out. But yeah, what's your take here, Trip? Just kind of moving forward and how we're approaching markets, etc.
So, I think that you have to focus on market structure because that's dictating what price is doing. And so, if you're making lower highs and lower lows, then you need to respect that. And short squeezes are probably just that, and they should be treated as that. Especially when you see people get really, really excited calling for 30K when the reality is you need to make a higher high above 28.4 now, pretty much, reclaim the quarterly open, and then set some sort of higher low to confirm that you had a break in bearish market structure. It's now bullish. And because 25.2 is not necessarily going to be that low. It could go up. Could it go up to like 29 again? Yeah, and then come back down. But there's just a lot of work that has to be done before you can confirm those things. And so I don't know if you can see my chart right now on BTC. You there?
Yep, you're good.
Okay, so yeah, I mean, we've talked about this a lot. Here's your high, your low, messy lower high, but you made a lower low. We came off here, similar double bottom. We came up 28.4, and now we've made a lower low. So we come up here. You could use this diagonal as one. I mean, can it go here, 27.8, and really, really, really mess people up? It would still be a lower high off of this. That's the thing. But, based on the monthly open, the Monday high, I also like to pull the fibs, right? Because this was the 61.8 basically off of this to this. And so I haven't looked at this yet to see exactly, but
monthly open essentially.
27,283 is your 61.8 fib back up.
And that's where we rejected, right? The 20 monthly open essentially.
Yeah. So you got to close above the monthly open, in my opinion, and then you can come up here, and that's another conversation. But again, I think it's stopping here, and it's going to the current year mid, right? This 28.4 to 25.2. It's almost amazing that everyone kind of got to buy this, and how clean this low sweep was and reclaim. I mean, we put it in our chat. Look, I thought it was going to go here because I don't know. I just didn't think we were going to do this
move. Full range extension.
Yeah. But crypto works in mysterious ways, and the market keeps you guessing. And so, I was long some altcoins here, and I closed them basically here. They went a lot higher. Yeah. But, that's... if it rejected here and I didn't close, then I would have been saying to myself, God, why did I do that? Right? And so my approach to markets right now is look, you buy the red deltas. I mean, there was a lot of shorts in the market. We had a plan here, and now you basically, based on Hyblock data, I'm the most granular. I haven't looked at the BTC if you have them up, but I think they turned green because they ran literally every single person who was short here into a key level, and Ethereum did the same thing, right? So I think that's your lower high personally, and that you're probably going to start the move down. You might want to be conservative around the previous weekly low and Monday mid or previous monthly low and those areas as a hedge. But I should have stayed with my conviction on this going to 25.2, but I covered 27 or something like that. That's part of trading. But yeah, I'm going to be continuing to do exactly what I've done on the lower highs until it's proven otherwise. I don't
like I
think
said,
you disagree too much on that either.
no, trend is your friend. And you talked about BTC licks. Just looking at Hyblock real quick before I get into some granular BTC data. Yeah, we had, like we said, 16 billion in shorts here. We had the move down, and then we squeezed above. The delta did flip
It's like
green here.
0.7 billion in longs now. I mean, Jesus, is that right?
Yeah. So 6.7, just about. A lot of a lot of longs. If we zoom in here, a lot of longs. It's mostly just green dots, kind of piling on the way up, which is fine. Short squeeze is inevitable. Negative 16 bill in delta. The reversal happens pretty swiftly. The fact that it went all the way back up to Monday high, weekly open, in and of itself is a strong impulse. But in my mind, right now, I think here I'll get to the chart in just a second here. Until we reclaim the monthly open, I'm going to stick with Trip on being bearish that we're going to see lower prices. Now, just how low? I think the key level for, bulls to hold right here is this 26.6, 26.8 level. They kind of want to flip this zone to support and before going higher. But in my mind, I really think we're just going to slow bleed, just lower highs. And then eventually this 25.8 level is kind of what I'm looking at on my current short here from 27.150, because if we can hold that level, that's kind of like your 3 taps. And this was just a deviation below, right? But, if 25.8, 25.9 doesn't hold, I think, like Trip said, 24Ks are definitely on the table. And when I zoom out, throw on Ichimoku. So for me, the most pivotal level that I've been watching since March actually, is this DBS zone right here, right? So this 24K to 23K little doji from end of February, it lines up so beautifully with the 3-day Kijun, which again, guys, is your mean reversion in a trending market. We saw right here. This is one of the reasons I took that 20K long. When the Kijun holds, that's kind of setting the direction of the trend. And since the top, it's been down only. This retest here was the first test of the Kijun on the 3-day, and now I'd assume the second test should likely hold for some sort of bounce. So that 24, 23 key level is kind of key to me moving forward. Ideally, this is the 3-day candle. We just had a nice move up. This probably bleeds back down eventually. And then once we get into this 23, 24K zone, that's kind of the buy zone for me, right? That's once we get to these lower levels, I want to see backwardation, right? So as we approach 24K, I go to my little BitMEX and I look at, the perp price compared to the futures price. So currently it's $100 difference for September futes. What I want to see is this trade significantly under the perpetual product price. And the reason being is that's called backwardation, right? When futures are at a discount to spot, that's considered backwardation. And lo and behold, in Bitcoin's 10 something year history, or at least as long as I've been trading it, whenever I see significant backwardation, that's generally where prices like to have an inflection point and mean revert one way or another. So backwardation has just always been, gun to my head, the perfect long opportunity or the perfect buy opportunity for me. Looking at ETH though, right? ETH's a little more interesting here. We could talk about ETH BTC in just a second.
I'm going to show this because this is also why I think that was the top for now. And can you guys see this?
Yep.
So this is the liquidation levels heat map. This was the key area, 26,850, very bright. There was a little gap, and then there's liquidity here, which was into monthly open and basically the key zone. Price has now kind of meandered a bit down here. So you need to get here, 27.3, basically, to start running higher. And this is a gap, right? And so now this liquidity below, given that you have 6.7 billion in longs on Bitcoin, is where the players get taken out. And to your point about 25.8, well, guess what? That's bright yellow. This 25.9 to 7.25, I mean, even all the way down to 25, this is how you get a cascade. But this is where price likely takes out market participants because it just took out the ones going up. And I haven't looked exactly at like the liquidation levels on Hyblock to see, but we can look at a 7-day and see if there's anything interesting. because I like to look at the different look backs. So this becomes interesting because this is still liquidity that could be taken, right? 28.1, but you're hitting like a gap before you need to kind of grab all this. So the invalidation is very clear. You start trading above this, you're probably going to start to come here, right? That's I'm not going to deny that. This never got hit. This was something that I was looking at, and this is, the defense was put up, right? I mean, this is a low, this is a low. It's a range low, so third time, like with that many shorts, it's set up, right? But this never got hit, and this has never been hit. This is obviously a bigger stretch, but if you do confirm or you start to really break down, let's say below 25.8, like you were talking about,
Yep.
not even this zone, then this is very much on the table. And if you look, the bottom of that's 24.1. That gets you 23.9, which is your current year mid-range, 61.8 fib from 19.6 to 31.9, whatever we did, right? But I will not disregard this here. And so to your point about like this kind of POB zone, if it does hold, then maybe this does become more realistic. But it still could be a lower high at 28.1. It's a cruel one, but yeah, just something to note. But on the 12-hour, it seems very much that price
Ran all the liquidity topside.
Yeah, like it's like you have a fib, you have the monthly open, you had the Monday high. Like it was a swift move on news, even though it's not incredibly bullish for the industry. So yeah, I think until you're above those 27K levels we talked about, you're likely going to come down and at least take out like into 26.2. But I do think 25.8 is attractive and could cascade down. You can touch on ETH BTC because I'll pull up the ETH ones and then we can go back to that.
Yeah, so just to talk about ETH real quick and then ETH BTC, similar setup, right? So like it didn't sweep the Monday low on ETH BTC. I mean on ETH because ETH BTC was pretty strong there. It just completed a daily edge to edge, which I'll show in a second. But once we had that move, I think I prematurely shorted 1882, I think it was, with a stop at 1893. And lo and behold, my stop loss was actually an ideal entry for a short. And that's just how it goes sometimes. And you have to be cognizant of that. Sometimes you get cheeky with it and the market humbles you. But neither here nor there. Price right now, we swept the Monday high, we swept the weekly open. It looks like we're trying to flip the monthly open into support on ETH, which is interesting because BTC is actually being capped by that right now. But in my mind, if BTC is going to go back to 25.8, which in my mind it will, ETH makes sense. It's going to go for the quarterly open, which is really just like the top side of this little consolidation before we had to move higher. So that just seemed like a good short to me, and that's kind of why I'm in that. But when we talk about ETH BTC, and I'll throw on the daily, and I will throw on Ichimoku. Apologies for a little bit of lag there.
Yeah, you're kind of, I'm for once clear, which is rare.
So here on the daily, past few days we completed this edge to edge, which was basically, price gets in here, trials the other opposite edge of the cloud. That's completed, right? So if you were long ETH earlier, it made sense. Now is where I'd kind of exercise caution on taking ETH longs over BTC longs. The reason being is we don't have a Kumo breakout yet. So we don't have the twist. Twist hasn't happened. Price hasn't closed outside of the cloud with the twist, with the Chiku span above price. So we're almost there, but I think more realistically speaking is we're either going to bounce off the Tenkan and try a breakout or bounce off the Kijun and try a breakout. So in either scenario, I think, first we're going to go revisit below 69, 68, 80, 68, 50-ish, somewhere in that area. And until that happens, I think ETH's going to be weaker compared to BTC. So ETH's actually a better short, while BTC is a better long at this juncture if you are going to play the trend one way or another. So, we talk about BTC kind of holding a 26.6, 26.8 level. On ETH, it's a little different because of the fact that we're kind of holding above that monthly open. So for me, it's really just this monthly open here at let's see here. At 1875. That's kind of the key level to hold. If we start breaking back down below monthly open, I think that's actually a cause to even add to shorts with invalidation above, I guess, 1900 high here. That sweep of the Monday high weekly open. And that's kind of how I'd look to play BTC and ETH going into the rest of the week. I'm cautiously bearish, at least at this juncture, because like Trip said, this is most likely, and I think in both of our opinions, a lower high before a lower. If we're able to flip that 26.8 zone, maybe we make another stab higher towards that riper liquidity at 28K. But I think, risk reward favors the shorts here. What's the lick looking like on it?
Yeah, and we can look at the heat map, and I think we'll all see a similar scenario of there's a gap here up till kind of that next 1900 level, but price is much closer to 1870, 1850, and this bright 1814, which is kind of like 1810, I think, and that would be close to a fib retracement, almost similar to 25.8 that you were talking about, I think. And so, yeah, I mean, look, I'll share my ETH chart, which is pretty much similar to yours. Is it up?
Yep.
Yeah, like this is clean, right? Monday high, I believe that's the weekly open up here. Traded above it and rejected it, right? Now you're at previous monthly mid, the monthly open basically, right? Just as you said, down to the Monday mid, 1834, retest of the daily open, 1811. Kind of this like almost SR flip is that yellow cluster basically. So, this diagonal that I have, that's let me just expand this. That was, I think playing with a lot of people's heads in terms of, we broke out. It almost becomes less significant when you start trading like back and forth of like above it and below it to me.
Yeah, it's just like a range deviation above or below the trend line.
Yeah, like came down cool here, yeah, but then we broke basically through it to pretty much a range low. I think like 1777. Yeah, but we never took out the previous month low, which is like really interesting to me. So if this starts trading back down, this is getting taken out. Like this is getting taken out, and ETH is going to 1669. And the larger basically channel of this whole thing for, I guess you call it like the bull trend of where your higher lows have been established. This zone is like massive. And what is it? 61.8. Like these are huge macro levels for me, just as they were in Bitcoin. If we look at if we actually look at like the channel itself, like, or the bull trend line for Bitcoin on the higher lows. Okay, well, your yearly open, this was your swing. You'd be coming back down, current year mid 23.9, and this is like in theory where you may maybe take this low out, but this is your huge demand zone right here, right? This is big. We didn't even come into it. So ETH going to 1660 or wherever that is, then BTC is going to come down into this zone. So lower highs for me till proven otherwise.
Love it. Yeah, so let's kind of just jump into some alt requests. I want to talk about INJ first, and then we can look at what the chat has going on. I think ARB, Magic, LTC. But INJ is an interesting one just because it's just shown so much strength recently. And I just kind of opened up the hourly chart here. The first thing I see is, we're kind of at the mid-range of Monday. We're above the monthly open, which is great, but at the same token, I don't think it's going to have that much relevance, and I'll talk about that in a second with the liquidity. But if we're looking at potential trade opportunities for the rest of the week, this Monday low was not swept, and I think looking forward for the rest of the week, a lot of these alt setups you'll probably take a look at haven't had their Monday lows swept. So depending on how fast Bitcoin may or may not drop, if it's only to 26.6, 26.8, or potentially lower to 25.8, if we do get a sweep of the Monday low, and then depending on if BTC kind of holds at 25.8 or 26.6, whatever that level ends up being, as soon as it reclaims, INJ would be a long to me, and I'd go as far as to say that this weekly open Monday high is not going to end the week untapped, unswept. So INJ is super interesting to me. I think that's one of the trades I'd like to look at for the week. And looking at just liquidity for a second, right? So red delta, 329 shorts to 174 longs, about 2-to-1 ratio. Looks ready for some more squeeze, but when I kind of zoom in here, all I see is a bunch of derivative longs opening up, right? This is all just green circles. And the fact that it's all these liquidity bubbles are just below the monthly open tells me that the monthly open is really not going to hold, most likely. So, when I zoom out and just run the liquidity profile, I see there's a bunch of liquidity below that Monday low that we just kind of mentioned. So for me, there's kind of two scenarios. One, right? If we're assuming that Bitcoin's kind of putting in some sort of local top here and going to try to go lower, potentially trading once INJ trades below the monthly open, we can look to kind of short with a stop above that, previous that we just put in over the last couple hours. If not, though, I'd be looking for the long side of things once we sweep Monday low, and then we kind of get back above on that reclaim with a stop below the Monday low deviation. Hyblock's a little slow for me right here. You have the licks on INJ?
Yeah, I'll show them. I just wanted to touch on.
Oh, we got it. Yeah, sorry, one sec. So just to showcase real quick here. Below 7, there's a lot of liquidity here. Down to like 6.6, 6.5-ish, 6.7. So the sweep of that Monday low, that's kind of the long I'm looking for on INJ. Wait till it sweeps and reclaims. The reclaim to me is key. It could be in the same hourly candle, but point being is I need to see the sweep. I need to see a strong reaction. Here's where I want to get in. I don't want to be buying knives here because if Bitcoin is going to fall off a cliff, INJ will go with it. But yeah, go for it, Trip.
Yeah, so just as we looked at BTC liquidity around 28.1 and like that zone, you do have to take into account that this is pretty bright up here from 1920 to 1940, right, on ETH.
Yep.
Actually, can you see it? I don't think I was sharing it properly.
There you go. Yep, you're good.
So yeah, this zone here, and as we talked about, like that Fibonacci level and the current year mid is down here, as well as like kind of that bullish kind of trend line just of higher lows. So look, if you're above 1900, it's going to go here. I think that's a really simple way to look at it. And if not, we're going to start to revisit down there. So I just wanted to touch on that. Were there other altcoins that people wanted to?
ARB, Magic, LTC, RNDR, Solana, Lido, Tomo. Just go through a list. Start with ARB.
Okay.
I'm going to pull up the licks. I'll pull up the chart since my Hyblock's a little slow today.
It might be your connection for some reason. I don't know. You're like pixelated. Someone said you look like a Bitcoin NFT.
Oh, really? Not me, for once.
Yeah. ARB. Let's take a look at ARB. Good old ARB. Do you have an ARB chart you're looking at right now?
I do, yeah. Oh, actually, yeah. You throw the licks on first, and then we'll do the chart.
All right, you guys can see this. So again, we went from an extreme of 380 million in shorts, and now we're sitting at 120. We took out a lot of shorts on this move, right? So this is the type of stuff that I don't like to trade, because like this can just continue to build, or this can go flip, and that's you guessing on what Bitcoin is going to do. And so, if Bitcoin drops to 26.8 like right now, well, then these are most likely getting taken out, like these higher leverage players right here. The next draw is 119 basically, and that might be a stretch to continue up here. And the chances are, if you get a move up that's like, let's say it takes out this high, this flips green, I don't necessarily want to be long anything that a green delta where we're so close to these resistance levels on Bitcoin and Ethereum, and we've already kind of traded below the Monday high. So my best advice for trying to see if there's a continuation play on these alts after an impulsive move like this is to take your swing low, and if this is your swing high, just pull a fib to 61.8 and look at where like your SR flip is and some of the bigger clusters of liquidity. And that's me not even looking at a chart right now. That's just how I would approach it. But you also have to understand that those are points of reference. Like, okay, here, like Zorn, I don't know where you are on a chart, but like 113, like this whole zone here, you're going to build more shorts, but like, I don't know what percentage drop this is and how, like, where that puts Bitcoin on a support level or if it hits licks, but you're playing a dangerous game that can cascade like pretty quickly on these things.
Yeah, so just to kind of echo on that and look at the chart for a quick sec, and I'll talk a little bit more macro on that topic. But yeah, you talk about that 113 level. That's right around here. That's a potential DBS zone. But again, if you look at this from a holistic point of view, this is the range, right? You have Monday low up to Monday high. Like, this is your range right here. So the fact that we're in the upper end of the range, I just can't be bullish, like Trip said, with Bitcoin at resistance. A lot of these alts are potentially going to give back some of their daily gains today. And a lot of these Monday lows are unswept, which just tells me that they're kind of ripe. Now, obviously, in an ideal world, for whatever reason, these alts would push up and sweep the weekly open Monday high, and then you kind of short that. But, on the flip side of things, just kind of how I'm thinking about the market and just viewing it, if we get back below monthly open, I'm not too concerned with like this type of a trade because you're playing within the range. We're at the range high, you can call it, near the range high. Once we get below the monthly open is usually a kind of a critical level. When price trades above it, it's good for longs. When price trades below it, it's good for shorts. It's just like a high time frame heuristic to kind of get a sense for, okay, which way is this monthly candle trending towards. Usually tend to see reactions when it goes above or below those monthly open levels. So point being is, if we got back below 116, potentially that could be a good short with the stop above whatever this high is, and then you target the Monday low. And the reason being is because if this is, we had such a explosive range move on Bitcoin happen, right? We swept the Monday low, and then we swept the Monday high, and then we're back down below it. So, if you're going to have a giant range for the remainder of the week, it would not surprise me that a lot of the price action after today is going to be very choppy and largely range bound, liquidity driven, predatory environment. So I'm not sure if you mentioned any licks below $1.06, but that's kind of what I would be targeting. Is kind of like a short. If you get back below monthly open, and then you target the Monday low, maybe a sweep, and then maybe you long a reclaim there. But I think the predominant I guess thesis of the stream is going to be shorting 104. Okay. Yeah. Okay. So that would kind of make sense. You short down to here, you wait for a reclaim, and then you're playing back up. But just to kind of echo what I just said, you're at resistance on Bitcoin and ETH. I think it's going to make a lot more sense to look for shorts up here, or longs from lower once Bitcoin kind of finds its support level. But that's ARB. What do we have next here? Magic. Do I have Magic ready? Does Magic
have any liquidity? I don't know if it does.
Take a quick look at the chart.
Matic does.
Matic. So just looking at Magic itself, interesting setup. It's below the monthly open. It did sweep the Monday low. Now, this is kind of at mid-range to me. I guess you could potentially short it with a stop above the monthly open reclaim, and then maybe you're targeting a Monday low retest. But, if I zoom out on Magic for a quick sec just to see where the chart actually is, it's looking like it's trying to put in some sort of bottom after being sold off in a straight downtrend. So I don't know that this has a high probability one way or another. I might want to long the Monday low retest, but I don't know that I'd short here with this monthly open untapped. Maybe if we got a pop above, came back down, that's where I'd short it, like right here. I think that would be the play. But you said there's no liquidity for it?
Not for Magic.
Okay.
So I pulled up KAVA because someone asked about this one. Holy cow.
What a chart. What a sign.
Yeah, I mean, wow. I mean, this trades like a dream, huh? Like,
Depends who you ask, right?
yeah, if you're a liquidity trader, but like, I don't even know what to make of this. Like this, like, there's no liquidity up like you have to get up here, and you have a green delta. Like, I don't know. If BTC starts falling, this thing, like, look at the inefficiency this can fill in. I mean, look what it does. This is
Yeah.
wild.
So when I look at that really quickly from a daily chart, just to put that into perspective, it just looks like one giant range, right? Like Monday low, Monday high, both unswept, untapped. We did travel back to the Monday high on this move up, and we haven't really moved down to the Monday low. And just sitting below it slightly is a quarterly open at 88 cents. So just looking at the liquidity and the chart you just showed, what wouldn't surprise me? I don't think there's a trade here unless you maybe sweep the Monday high, come back down, and then you're trading back down. Or on the flip side, if you sweep the Monday low, and maybe it's something like that. KAVA is definitely an interesting volatile coin that pretty much traded both sides of the range. And until you have like a deviation above or below, above Monday high, it's a short. Below Monday low, it's a long potentially. That's kind of how I would trade it. This is one giant range. We're in the upper quartile of the range, but I don't see a clear trade setup either way. I feel like you're just grasping at straws to trade one way or another.
Yeah, you either caught the bottom at light speed, or the other side of it when it's squeezed. Yeah. Okay. I think someone said Lido because this one's obviously be very interesting. Specifically, like the larger chart itself when I think it traded 157 and then back to like 250. It maybe you pull up the chart, but I will say now that like if Bitcoin and Ethereum drop, Lido's gonna go for a nice ride lower quickly. There's 88 million in longs. It squeezed off of, I mean, the bottom was probably around that 82, right? So
Yep.
when we talk about predatory price behavior and removing market participants and finding exhaustion points in the market, this is your quintessential example of it. You just took out 80 million in shorts from there and added that many longs. So your upside right now, wow, 250 was like that high I think it went to or something.
245.
Yeah, so uh, this, yeah, I mean, 242 if it squeezed a little bit, but then you're flirting with this. I don't know the setup on this. I don't have the chart in front of me. What does it like
Yeah.
monthly open look
So
like? Monday high, the
So
low.
basically, we're above the Monday high now. We're kind of stopping just below the quarterly open. Monday low is untapped, but the fact that we kind of pierced into the monthly open and kind of bounced off it tells me that the Monday low likely doesn't get swept, and if it does, it's very bearish. We're probably going much lower. Um, I think best case scenario, this is probably something you don't want to short at least. Even if BTC pulls back, I think it's going to show some strength. But until it gets below the Monday high, I don't see a clear short setup. But the weekly open's relatively close as well, so I wouldn't necessarily think you could do dip below Monday high into the dip below the Monday high, get into my chart. My mouse actually now is just lagging on me. Monday high, weekly open, reclaim Monday high, and then go up.
Yeah,
If that
or
makes
if
sense.
you run the quarterly and all the licks and then you trade back below it, potentially.
Yes, that's a good point, potentially.
Because then that high over at basically 260, that's
Yep.
your invalidation, pretty much. So, yeah, Lito's like a coin that typically does crazy moves really fast and then bleeds. But it also leads things, and then others catch up while people try to long this thing.
Yep.
And it doesn't necessarily work. So, yeah, I mean, the move it went from like 205 to 245, like pretty quick. I'm not trying to long that, but I'm not eager to short it.
Yeah, I think that's if it's not clear, you stay out. So Lido is not a good short. It's probably a better long, but just not at these prices. I think is the go-to there.
Yeah, let me see if I have because I had a Lido chart that I looked at, which showed basically it against ETH and BTC, and I think it was 3 of them here. Let me see. I have this. Yeah. Here we go. Can you guys see this?
Yep.
Yeah. So if we look at the larger, it always does that. Where's the expand button? Is it this one?
Yep.
Toggle maximize. Yeah, I hit the wrong one, guys. If we look at the larger Lido chart, the uptrend, this has always been like a really interesting zone to me. Was this the macro generational buy bottom for it? I mean, look, like it made a lot of sense for that because of this kind of whole area. And if we look at, I guess let's just take this low to this high. $3 was sold so much by like Jump and VCs. I think you got to keep that in mind. Like people made a lot of money on this one, and they're still up a lot on it. So yeah, I mean, this held pretty well here. I think if you start trading above 255 though, like then it becomes like almost like you could go attack these highs up here. But it's all really dependent on what Bitcoin and Ethereum are doing. And if you take the mindset of that, like this is wouldn't do it this way, that was the lower high, then like I don't care how strong Lido is, like it seems like it would be coming lower personally. And based on liquidity, and what we saw in the Delta, like there's like 60 shorts to 288 longs and around 80 million in longs right now. So yeah, it's a tricky one because you had to be here basically. You had to be in the long, and now it's like it can do anything right now. So I wouldn't necessarily be that interested in trading Lido right now, to be honest. I've had bad luck trading Lido.
Respectable.
I was trying to see if there was anything more granular, like if we dropped granularity to see on Lido, like if we could see where maybe there were some really big licks, to see if that would be a magnet for price potentially. Let's see. Yeah, I mean 243, but then you're getting pretty close to up here. I don't know. Price is pretty close to a lot of these longs right here. So if Bitcoin drops, then this thing's coming down to like 225 easy, or this zone here, and this is going to start to tail off. So it is more interesting on the short side, but I wouldn't be surprised if it squeezes higher because it has the regulatory kind of like juice behind it, where centralized exchanges are out of favor, and we saw kind of that trade on, or that almost a rotation or an idea into the DEXs, call it.
Someone asked for, throw that one up real quick. I want to pull up the licks. So Solana is really interesting, right? Like I think it was Awat that said, Solana is the new Adam Link, don't at me. And lo and behold, Solana pumped, and then what happened the next day? Well, the entire market nuked. So Solana's an interesting coin just because, I think there
Holy
is
cow.
more echo bubble involved, but it set a really large range, entire $3 range from 1920s to 22s early in the week. So, we did sweep the Monday low. It did have a really nice move, but it's still below the monthly open. So in my mind, I'd probably favor longs, but until it reclaims the monthly open, I'm not really interested in it because I see a scenario, say Bitcoin does one more push up, a lower high, and this does a little monthly open move and then kind of comes back down. So in my mind, Sol is more of a long, just not at this juncture. I'd probably wait for a reclaim of the monthly open to get long before we go attack those higher levels. But I think this is a little bit of a stretch given where Bitcoin's at right now. So I'd be curious to see kind of what's the lick profile saying there, Chip.
Yeah, I mean, like peak bears were, like 500 million shorts. I mean, you can see the V bottom move, but man, there's a lot of longs. Like this is wild. I guess these were all
Yeah.
liquidated, but like you have people longing this on the way up. Some shorting. I mean, 480 to 183. I mean, yeah, can this squeeze higher and you flip this green? Yep, but like it's not something I want to long right here. Like, can it come down here and make a higher low off of this? Yeah, it can. And then all these people were removed. So it's. I mean, we say this a lot on these streams when we're doing the analysis on alts. It's like you have to kind of pick a direction of where you think Bitcoin and Ethereum are going. Because in very few instances are the altcoins going to buck the trend. Well, there was one last night, Ape, but that was because the funding on it was insanely negative and there was like 25 longs left or something like that. But APT was an example of like the funding wasn't as negative, so the squeeze I guess was maybe a little bit more delayed. Ape almost like led the market actually, which was kind of funny. But like Solana, if you look at, I guess this is where your resistance is, right? Like pretty much here. Price came pretty close to it. And so on a less granular basis, like it's not as attractive. Like it has to push up to here. Really here actually to start grabbing liquidity again. But like this person seems vulnerable. This person seems vulnerable. Like it's not clear to me. I did see a bunch of people wanting to like long Sol the other day. And I didn't really know why, but sure enough, you got a squeeze, but like the whole market squeezed. So I wouldn't say it's anything like indicative particular to Sol. Like what is Sol up today relative to Bitcoin?
Relative to Bitcoin?
Well, like Bitcoin went up like 5% on the day. What is it? Just if you're looking at
BTC is down 3%. So it's still weak against BTC as of today.
Right. So USD pair on Sol's up 175 basis points. Bitcoin's up 5%. So it's like, all right, well, that just shows you right there that like the better trade was Bitcoin. There's some alts that obviously went up like a lot more than Bitcoin, but like Lido is one of them, like Ape is one of them, OP, like Pepe, Kava is about in line with it, Math, right? Like so. I think that's also important to look at where the strength is, like where the relative strength is, or like having Bitcoin, the biggest crypto, run the market while ETH BTC ran the 0.07 like edge to edge. That should be telling people something. So yeah,
you'd like to hope.
Yeah, well, I just don't think Sol has any relative strength that would make me want to like be long that like and watch it go up. But that's how I look at things. So if Bitcoin goes down, that stuff's going to go down a lot more than it, probably quicker.
Agreed. Someone asked for OP. So OP is actually interesting. So we swept the Monday high, the weekly open. we're back below it now. So I'd almost favor OP actually probably for a short. If I were just going to spitball, right, like close below the Monday high, stop above the deviation, you're probably playing to the monthly open. Can you get to the Monday low? You probably could, but that's going to take, again, Bitcoin going to that 25.8. So but this isn't a bet up out of all the ones we looked at so far. The fact that it ran the Monday high weekly open and is now back below it gives me more confidence in the short. So this actually might be one that I potentially take very soon, maybe after daily close, just to see that it's kind of still below that Monday high weekly open. Monthly opens interesting level here, and the fact that we kind of had a nice wick into it at 138.3. That'd be the first level to kind of target on a short, and then obviously the Monday low sweep if you get it. But we'll see. OP is definitely a better short than it is long, and it's more attractive based on the few alts that we looked at recently. Lick profile looking like there.
Yeah, I mean, so where did it spike to today? Like 150?
155.
Yeah, and now it's back to where? Sitting at? Okay. Yeah, I mean that. So I guess a lot of people along the top of that, because it went from 191 million to like 38 million. So there must have been a lot of longs who entered like up here, but you did run all the shorts just like every other alt did. This one showed some relative strength to Bitcoin. Have you looked at OPBTC? Be interested to see like if that has anything revealing around.
OPBTC is actually up on the day. Let me show that real quick. Which is interesting, right? That it is up. So then maybe that relative strength is actually showing that you shouldn't be shorting BTC, which is interesting. So, but looking at this chart, we had an SFP below this level, and then we had a nice move higher. That to me almost feels like a squeeze. Like this is the range, right? And if you're going to play in the range, well, you just ran the range high. Going back to mid or range low makes a lot of sense. So it based on OP BTC, I still like BTC. I mean, I still like the OP short idea. If maybe we get back below this Monday high weekly open, but if we flip this level, then OP is probably a good long actually versus BTC. I think it's really just going to depend if this 26.8 level holds on BTC or not. I think that's kind of the must hold level for bulls right now to see continuation on a lot of these alts. If not, then we can talk about these lower targets, monthly open, Monday low, etc.
Yeah. Were there other alts?
RNDR. Do we have for that?
Yeah, they did add that. Yeah, some guys, you need a mic because of the mouse against the desk. I don't have a mouse. I'd also do that. Guys, I'm a much better trader analyst than I am a streamer. I will admit that 100%. Like that's not my forte. I'm learning, but yeah. All right, so RNDR, this one's been whipped around a lot. I think, is this having to do with the Apple VR headset?
Oh, it could be. It's a good point, actually.
Holy cow. This thing has a lot of shorts. I haven't looked at a chart on this, but there's 277 million in shorts, and you haven't really taken any of these shorts out, even with this like little squeeze from 217 to 245. Like this thing, if it wanted to go, could really go, but I don't see really clear setup because it can still come down and take out like the 228 low. I mean, you could make a double bottom at 220, depending on what Bitcoin and Ethereum do. I guess if you have the view that 27.1 is going to flip and we're going to go to 28 and ETH is going to go to 1940, then this thing is going to, like
275 at least.
Yeah, somewhere around there. But it's not super clear to me that that's going to necessarily be the case.
Yep.
But I do see the argument for it. So curious to see what your chart says on it.
Yeah, so I definitely like it long. I just don't like it from here. Like you showed those licks. I don't know, maybe you could sweep this, maybe you even come back to retest the Monday low. There's a lot of liquidity, right? But like weekly open, Monday high, like this is getting swept at some point. The question is it going to sweep from here, or is it going to come down first before sweeping higher? That's, I think, the base case here. But, you mentioned those licks. Just looking at it from a daily perspective, though, like this thing has kind of just been up only, even with all the dips. Like every dip's gone bottom up, higher highs, higher lows, and market structure looks good. So is this a potential bottoming candle here on RNDR? Remains to be seen. But if we came back into these kind of like key levels, like 230-ish, 231, 232, maybe even sweep this little low here. Like basically we're just below the mid range of the Monday range. I would like it to get closer to the lower quartile before punting longs, just because the risk reward is higher. It's a clear setup. Buying here just kind of seems like no man's land. Can it still push up? Absolutely. But based on my BTC thesis, I'm not interested in doing that. But if BTC comes down, ETH comes down, and we get into this kind of like below 230 level, I definitely consider longs to kind of play up to this sweep here. So
if you pulled up the daily on it and you pulled a fib on the swing low to swing high, where does that stack up from a fib standpoint? Oh, did Zorn freeze? Yikes. I think he froze. Can you guys hear me?
you guys there?
I'm here. You froze.
There we go. Yeah, I did freeze. I was hoping it was going to reconnect. All right. What do we got?
It's that Miami internet.
must be.
The power grid is getting attacked over there. No, I was saying on RNDR that swing low at 160, and then the high was what, like close to 3?
Yep.
Did it come back down into like?
It did sweep them. It did sweep the Monday low like a couple hours after the daily closed. So
I'm just curious on a level standpoint of like a fib. If you were to take a fib off the 290 on the 160, like where that low
290, 160. Oh, you mean this one? Okay, hold up.
Yeah, because you were talking about market structure on a higher time frame, which I totally agree with. So it made a higher high off of the last one, right? So, you got the range one on. Yeah, happens to me. Oh, it's backwards, but yeah, like we saw where Lido landed. D Hills ice. The chat is
just between the 50% fib and the 61.8 fib, like right in betweenish.
Kind of interesting because it took out those lows over on May 15th.
Over here. Yep.
And then reclaimed it. So
yeah, so that's why I'm cautiously bullish. I just don't think the setup is just point blank here, right? Like sometimes if I'm looking for like a long entry and I'm looking at the daily, right? Like we just had a strong move, like the reaction's good. I look at like the daily open, so 227, 228. That's kind of like anything below 230, like we kind of said. So 227 is 227.8. So like right, so basically if we swept this low, I'd feel much more confident getting in a long between here and here, just because it's the lower end of the range and I can more clearly define the risk to trade higher. But until this low is swept, this is kind of no man's land, and I feel like the risk reward of longing here is much lower than it could be or should be.
Yeah, or it trades back. It runs the daily open and then trades back above it, and you also can find a low that maybe is your invalidation, because you would see it in the like an impulse back above, like a swift move below and back above, can sometimes be a good trigger if it's matching
Yep.
up with licks. Because then you're like, all right, well the Monday low was swept and it went to the month. Did it go to the mid? You should put the mid on too, because then if it starts trading above the mid of the range, then you're more likely to go to the Monday
Yeah.
high,
So
right?
mid is 247. Not there just yet.
Okay. I mean, close, like you could argue that's close enough, like maybe where price was or how close it got to it. Um,
Yep.
but there's a
So
ton of shorts on that. So I would keep an eye on that one.
So we got a question real quick from Bo. When we say reclaim of the Monday low, what does it mean? A 15-minute candle close or what? So that's a great question you ask. And I think it's one that kind of warrants a longer discussion, just because, as traders, we're very subjective with how we approach markets, right? What you see as a reclaim, I might see as a fake out or a potential deviation, etc. So how I've kind of approached Monday low reclaim, for me, it's simply, does price trade below the Monday low and then immediately trade back? For me, that's probably as simple as holding there for like a 5-minute candle, maybe even a 1 or 2 minute candle, just because as of lately, at least in the last 6 or 7 months, I've noticed that, we don't get the whole Monday low sweep, reclaim, sweep. Like, you don't get this area here. It's not as clean. It really just happens in a single hourly or potentially even like here, a 15-minute candle, right? Like, we swept below it, went one more
Today,
one more.
BTC reclaim was the cleanest thing I've seen in a long time.
Yeah, but it happened very quickly, right? So like, let's actually break that
I,
down real
I
quick.
was using a
Um,
15-minute chart, um, but I do think you got like 25.3 something, and that was it.
yeah,
And
it
then
was the smallest tap below, but point being is, the way it actually swept. Um, so this line's the Monday low. Like, we had one move into it and then a second move into it, but like this candle right here, like the move down and this move up, like if I was awake, I probably would have just bought right here. I didn't end up buying until 25.8 because I was sleeping. But this to me, this two candle formation is good enough for me as kind of like a sweep and a reclaim. And then here you had the second opportunity to get in. Obviously, we consolidated here for a minute before moving up. But when you ask about to kind of give you an straightforward answer, Bo, is it's really what you think makes the most sense on a reclaim. For me, it's like as soon as price gets below it and then gets back above it, I see a strong reaction. Doesn't matter what the time frame is, I get in and I use that deviation low as my stop loss. I'm kind of just biting the bullet, right? Because Monday low is swept, Monday low is reclaimed in the same X period candle. Probably good enough for me, rather than waiting and then missing the move, right? Like here you had an hour or two. It doesn't always happen that way. So hopefully that answers your question.
yeah, it's a little bit of an art, and it's also looking at other things. Liquidity being pretty helpful. Like obviously, there was a liquidity pocket down there, on the lick levels and the heat map. So
Yep.
once you kind of tap it, you see a strong reaction. I think one thing for me that I was looking at was the mark price was leading the perp consistently. So was Coinbase over a lot of the perp exchanges. So that's telling you that spot is buying. And there's like multiple ways to look at this. You could follow 52 skew. I mean, like he'll show you the CVD perp spot delta on a lot of things. But using kind of TA around that reclaim with liquidity, understanding that there was still like 14 billion in shorts on Bitcoin, while perps were shorting it and the spot was buying it, gives you a lot more confidence in that being a deviation and a reclaim that's going to go higher. Your job is to figure out how, like, okay, that's my risk underneath that low. And look, it could trade like another wick underneath it and reclaim it, and then you may relong it, or maybe you're waiting for the 25.8 because that's a more significant reclaim. But these were like the actual plans that we had in place. I mean, we put them in the Telegram. Zorn and I had kind of talked about them. I think you posted the thing on Twitter, like
Yeah. A little squiggly.
Yeah. And so you're looking for the highest probability setup. It's not always going to work.
Yeah, and I think that's the point to drive home, right? It's like we come up with the Monday range. I see the setup. It played out perfectly today, right? That's great, but like, is it always going to play out that way? Absolutely fucking not. And it's just weighing your probability, finding the confluence. Like Tripp said, we saw the lick delta there. We saw 16 bill in shorts. We saw the Monday sweep. You had all these confluence factors that you have to kind of add context to, right? So like you can have a symmetrical triangle pattern in a range market, and context is key. So you can draw the shapes you want. If it's changing, it doesn't really matter too much. But point being is that when you have the confluences, you take the trade, and then whatever happens, happens. In this case, the Monday low was swept. We had liquidity. Setup played out nicely. Is it always going to work that way? No. So point being is kind of just like you have to prepare to take the trade, execute the trade, and then just set and forget and see what happens.
Yeah. Were there other altcoins people wanted to look at? Render's really interesting. I'm going to keep an eye on that one.
Not that I see. This might be a good place to stop it here so I don't keep lagging up the screen anyway. Talked about a bunch of alts today. BTC, ETH, Render, Lido, ARB, OP, Solana, a few others as well, KAVA, bunch of alts. So I think the overarching thesis to kind of leave you guys with today is, determine your direction on Bitcoin, identify and mark out your levels on your altcoins that you're interested in kind of participating or doing business at. And then once BTC reacts at those levels that you've predefined, execute on your trades, take the trade, always know your risk, and kind of just be prepared to take the trade for how it is, not how you want it to be. And then just let it play out. So that's kind of the thought process going into the rest of the week. Any parting words here, Tripp?
If you guys aren't in the Telegram, that's going to be your best source of information. I mean, we try to be pretty diligent in explanations of why we think things could happen with price. I might not give you the perfect setup every time, but like I'll start to look at things and put hints out there, because a lot of this is for you guys to just figure out to make decisions on your own, and use the things that we talk about, whether in confluence to your own trading, or you're new to it. But yeah, Twitter, I mean, the Telegram, Crypto Insiders, those are the resources I would say where you're going to get the most information. That's where I'm putting in most of the charts and liquidity, and we're trying to be more in real time with that. So we obviously can only do a couple like alts because we don't want to sit here for 2 hours. But yep, just keep an eye on that, and we'll keep you guys updated. And yeah, that's about all I got to say now.
Awesome. Well, thanks everyone for tuning in. It's been an awesome episode, and hopefully we'll have a guest for you guys next week. We've had a little trouble locking him in with a few issues, but we should have someone fun for you guys next week. So stay tuned for that. With that said, Captain Cole signing out. Take it easy, guys.
Later, guys.